2025's community days have nearly concluded, with the December recap weekend upon us. We're reviewing all 11 comm days this year to find out which was the best and which was a stinker, so let's get into it. We'll be using the same criteria we used to grade last year's community days, including 5-point scales for the Pokemon's rarity, PvP viability, and both raid and max battle viability, plus a 2-point scale for new shinies. If the Pokemon had its shiny debut during the comm day, it gets 2 points. If it's a newer shiny that was released in the past 16 months, it gets 1 point, and obviously if it's older than that, nothing. Starting at our bottom spot, the worst comm day of the year, we have Solosis. It's unfortunate because, as we said in our analysis, Reuniclus could have at least had some PvP viability if they had given it Psywave, but instead, Charm was the exclusive move and did next to nothing for it. An old shiny with no real raid viability or rarity, and this is easily the bottom spot. Moving up slightly is Vanillite, who we saw earlier in the year. Vanillite only scores 1 more point than Solosis, with it only being a slightly more usable raid attacker, but barely. Though I do prefer the colors of this line's shinies, so that's at least something. But Vanillux really could have used a brand new attack instead of just Avalanche. Even the newly buffed Icicle Spear would have been a little bit better. At number 9 is the first dual community day we've had. Not 2 regional variants of the same Pokemon, but 2 completely different ones, Carablast and Shelmet. They are counterparts, so it makes sense. But unfortunately, the thing both have in common here is that they're pretty bad. Neither Razor Shell nor Energy Ball did great things for either's evolution, even after several move updates. Escavalier is at least a decent bug attacker, but that's still pretty obscure. Once again, these 2 really could have benefited from brand new attacks. Getting a little bit better, we have Pawmi at number 8. Having its shiny debut definitely helped it feel a little more exciting, but otherwise, the comm day wasn't that great. Pawmi does have a little use as a budget electric attacker, so that's something, but on the PvP side of things, they chose to give it Brick Break, which was buffed this season, but even now, it doesn't help it a ton. At the time, it still had to make do with Spark as an underwhelming fast move. Even with the buffs it's received, I still don't feel like it's making enough of a splash. Upper Hand or its signature move Double Shock were both right there. But at number 7, I think we've arrived at the decent comm days. Quaxley being a starter community day makes it hard to hate. A new shiny is nice, and even though the starters aren't rare species, the moves they receive do always help out. Quackquival with Hydro Cannon is a good water attacker, although even with Hydro Cannon, it still doesn't really have the tools for PvP. Our 6th best comm day of the year continues starters with Fuecoco. Fuecoco's score is identical to Quaxley's, just with the PvP and rating scores swapped. But seeing that Skeledirge is a more unique PvP Pokemon as opposed to Quackquival, who is still outclassed as a water attacker, I think it's appropriate to have Fuecoco ahead. Interestingly, Skeledirge actually somewhat prefers its non-exclusive move it received, being Torch Song, instead of the Legacy Blast Burn. Nonetheless, it was a fun move to add to its PvP arsenal, so I'd call it a win. Moving into the top 5, we have Sprigatito, who started the year off pretty well. Now at the time, it wasn't really anything mind-blowing, similar to Quaxley where it was a good grass attacker and nothing impressive in PvP. However, the latter part of the year saw a buff to Leafage, one of its fast moves, and that actually gave it surprising relevance in the GBL. Specifically, some high-ranking players found it to work as a great core breaker against many ghost, ground, and water types in the Great League meta. Some may find that PvP ranking to be a little high, but I think that specialized role earns it a 3 out of 5. At number 4, we have September's Flabebe comm day. Now the fact that we didn't get all 5 Flabebe flower colors for this event was a big disappointment. If all were included, I probably would have given the rarity score a 4 or even a 5 because there's regionals included. However, even without the 2 colors from outside one's region, I still think this event did a lot right. Getting to shiny hunt 3 of the 5 colors is still great for collectors. I know I don't see orange or white too often, so being able to complete their shiny families was still nice. And on top of that, Florges receiving Chilling Water as a brand new move for PvP made it a top tier Pokemon. It's amazing in the Ultra League and Master Premier, while it's still pretty good in Great and Master. And while you could do a lot better in the raid department, it's still a usable fairy attacker, so that's something. But altogether, it was a great event. Beginning the top 3, we have our most recent comm day being November's Pikipek. Having 2 regional bird Pokemon in one year was a bit odd, but it was nice to finally have the line Shiny debut, and Beak Blast was tailored to Toucanon, giving it more PvP and rating viability. Sure, it's nothing outstanding, but being a new Shiny with a new move and solid usability will earn you a pretty nice score. Speaking of regional birds, our penultimate pick is August's player-voted Rookity Com Day. Now I'm cheating a little bit here because the Shiny technically debuted just a few weeks prior to the event, but it's close enough to the Com Day, and that wasn't known when it was voted on, so I'm giving it the 2 points. Air Cutter made Corviknight a true force to be reckoned with in both the Great and Ultra League, and while Corviknight is indeed a garbage Pokemon on the raid attacking side of things, I did give it 2 points just because it's a solid tank in max battles. So this was a nice opportunity to farm Candy and XL for that. Overall, despite being a regional bird Com Day, I still really enjoyed this one, and while it has a 4-way tie with the previous 3 entries at 10 points, being the winner of Com Day voting makes it the best of those. Before we reveal our number 1 pick though, I wanted to quickly run through the classics from this year. With its prominent PvP use, Totodile Classic was easily the best of the bunch, followed by Ralts, where Gallade is good in PvP and Gardevoir is good for raids. The Evolutions may not have a ton of use these days, but EV Classic was still great for helping people hunt for shinies. And while Machop comes in last, it's still a pretty useful Pokemon in all areas of the game. Really, I'd say all 4 of the classics this year were great. But if you hadn't guessed it already, our best Com Day of 2025 is Jangmo-O. Now at the time, we remarked in our analysis that Como-O wasn't really the most exciting in terms of viability. Since then though, it's received a lot of new tools. Dragontail received an energy-centric buff, and Como-O also got access to Metal Sound and Upper Hand, the latter of which was a real game changer. Dragontail, Upper Hand, and the OP clanging scales made for a really threatening and spammy moveset. I still wouldn't call it top tier, but it's very good nonetheless. The only unfortunate part was that clanging scales was a poor move in PvE. While I never expected Como-O to become a top tier dragon attacker, the move could have still been strong enough to make it a budget attacker on par with some of the other pseudos. Nonetheless, this event offered some exciting stuff better than any other Com Day this year, so it nets the top spot. Now these are only our opinions, so if you disagree, that's totally fine. Let us know your favorite and least favorite community days of the year down in the comments below. We'd love to hear. Plus, if you have any predictions or hopes for next year's community days, drop a comment on that too. We'll be making our own predictions for 2026's Com Days pretty soon, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and we wish you the best of luck on December Com Day. Take care.